The only other topic that we have to cover in 4.3 has to deal with the distance formula. So you should recognize something similar to this from algebra. The distance between 2 points in algebra is going to look very much like this. Now we're dealing with complex numbers now, and our distance formula is going to be the difference between the real components of our complex numbers squared plus the difference between the complex part of our complex number squared, and we take the square root of that. So again, this formula is very similar to what you would have seen in algebra. And there's two formulas for this. You see above, we've got the absolute value of Z1 and Z2, where Z1 and Z2 are different. I guess it could be the same, but two different complex numbers. And we are going to use the distance formula below. And first, let's graph the two numbers. So the homework problem that I'm choosing to do is number 41, and this is on page 335 in 4.3. All right, so I've found an animation, I use it in previous tests, of just a blank grid of a plane. So recall, instead of xy, we're going to use the imaginary axis will be up here, and the real axis will be our horizontal. So let's graph these two numbers. 1 plus 2i. 1 is our real component, and 2 is our imaginary component, so we're going to be here. So we're going to go over to the right 1 and up 2. And I'll just indicate that this is 1, this is 1, and it should go from there. So I'm showing the scale of my graph. I put a 2 there, then it goes 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. The other complex number is -1, so to the left 1, and also up 4. So this is our other number. And we want the distance between the two. Well, in the same vein that we did this before, let's take a look. We're going to draw a triangle. So this blue line here is the distance between our two a values, and this distance will be the difference between our two b values. This makes a right triangle, and ultimately we want this line here. Okay. So let's just plug it into the formula. So our distance here, square root, our first number is 1, subtracted from a -1, the whole thing squared, and our b's are 2 and 4. Doesn't matter the order you put your a's and b's in, they just have to go together. You're squaring them, so any negatives that you have are going to become positive. So our distance equals, this is +2, and this is -2. So we have √8, which is 2 √2. And that is how you use the distance formula. Again, that's just, these are the two topics from 4.3 that I'm going to cover and or quiz or test you on. So don't worry about the rest. There's stuff in that section about how to do a conjugate. We've talked about that. There's more examples of that if you want to look through it, if you're unclear about how it works. All right, and I will move on to 4.4.